Hi, today I'm going to talk about different roles and their responsibilities in Scrum framework. Let's get started. Scrum is by far and away the most popular of all the agile methods in use today. A key feature of Scrum is the distribution of responsibilities across three roles: a business representative, product owner, a group of skilled professionals building a product development team, and a facilitator who removes obstacles, Scrum Master. These roles are the most important players in agile projects across the world. Although there is another role which you can't run away from, that is stakeholders. So, what are the responsibilities of these key three roles in Scrum? Several people have tried to answer this question with a good old fashioned RACI chart. Who is responsible for what? Who is accountable for what? Who is in the consultation or who needs to be informed? Unfortunately, each of these Scrum RACI examples to try to do too much, offering up way too much detail that leaves many of my Scrum teams wondering about how it works on their project instead. I think the RACI format itself is too fault. What if we answer a more basic question instead? What does the textbook say about who owns what, regardless of what kind of project I work on? Instead, I'm going to use a different approach by emphasizing who owns a given responsibility versus who helps that owner. I find owns and helps strategy is much easier to articulate than the conventional RACI format. Product owner. The product backlog and its related refinement are absolutely owned by the product owner. She decides which workshops, meetings, plannings, or updates need to happen to create and update the backlog. However, a good product owner will ask for help from the development team on dependencies, estimates, trade offs, and even test criteria. She will also ask the Scrum Master to help resolve any issues. A Scrum Master can help facilitate alignment across stakeholders. The product owner can even ask for help organizing the backlog in a way that is understandable by various parties. The sprint planning and its resulting sprint backlog are jointly owned by the product owner and the development team. The product owner decides what is most important to work on right now in the upcoming sprint. Meanwhile, the development team decide how much of the product owner's priorities are feasible in the sprint timeframe. If they are good in their job, they will ask Scrum Master to facilitate some good dialogue about this difference of perspective. Granted, the development team can spend some time in the meeting to craft a tactical plan for how the backlog item will get built. That may help them gain confidence as to what's feasible for the sprint. But whatever goal, whatever agreement, whatever forecast comes out of a sprint planning is jointly owned by the product owner and the development team. Development team. The daily scrum and the product increment are absolutely owned by the development team. Nobody touches the product increment during the sprint except the development team. Also, they use the daily scrum meeting as a tool to help them coordinate the steps and actions needed to build the product increment. If they're wise, they will ask the product owner for help to clarify business details or even to shield them from other stakeholders. Furthermore, they can ask the Scrum Master for help facilitating the daily Scrum and removing impediments. The newer the team, and the more help they will need. A common rule is that anyone can come to the daily Scrum, but only the Scrum team is allowed to talk at the meeting. This is to emphasize that the ceremony is owned by the development team for their own internal benefit. The sprint review is owned by the product owner. This is where the product owner gets to see what she invested the last few weeks of budget to get. She decides whether the product is in good enough shape to invite stakeholders. She decides how best to capture feedback during the meeting and have it incorporated into the backlog. If she is smart, she'll ask the development team for help to demo the product and since they just worked on it, she can also ask the Scrum Master for help in establishing an effective meeting. Scrum Master. The sprint retrospective is jointly owned by all three roles. The product owner's neck is on the line for how well the sprint went. She will have strong opinion about improving. The development team is expected to take ownership over their work. They will have ideas about how to make that happen. The Scrum Master is held accountable for whether the whole team is effective and reliable. He will have strong opinions about moving in that direction. These were the three key roles in Scrum framework. But in real world, there are other roles who circle around these three key roles. One of them is business analyst. The traditional role of the business analyst is to capture and document requirements and then to make sure that those requirements are delivered by the IT team. That sounds like a simple enough role, but it's actually pretty complex. It requires an in depth understanding of the business and its customers, the ability to analyze and order the different viewpoints of stakeholders, and it means facilitating the negotiation between the stakeholders and the development team about what to build. Gathering requirement by managing relationship with stakeholders and facilitating those conversations are one of the key responsibility of business analysts. Other responsibilities include providing guidance on what to build, when to release as much value as possible as early as possible, helping the team to plan and improve their ways of working through retrospective, and ensuring the work done by Scrum team align with the wider business strategy. We all know that in real world we need capital to run these big projects. And for the matter of fact, any other kind of resources which makes the projects roll on. Stakeholders have to keep a healthy relationship with the product owner in order to share every detail regarding his project. They are the people who sometimes provide key insights to the project, or they are the people who are putting their money into the project. The stakeholder is responsible for conveying his wishes and concern to the product owner. Stakeholder has to provide regular input to queries from the product owner. Prioritizing the work effectively with the product owner is another job that the stakeholder has to do to ensure his project is going on. Now, to summarize this presentation, I have created this simple chart which showcases who owns what. Let's start with backlog refinement. Backlog refinement is owned by product owner, and obviously the whole team and the Scrum Master needs to help product owner in order to achieve the best backlog refinement workshops. Sprint planning. Sprint planning is owned by the product owner and the development team both. Obviously, Scrum Master helps them in order to facilitate the whole session, but the sprint planning itself is owned by development team in order to define what they are going to commit for the sprint, and product owner to make sure that his or her priorities are reflected in sprint planning. Daily Scrum. Daily Scrum is owned by development team. Development team decides whom they would like to listen to in order to get more information which helps in current sprint. Sprint review. Sprint review is owned by product owner. In sprint review, product owner looks at what development team has delivered, and in that delivery, the quality and end deliverable is up to the mark. Sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is owned by product owner, development team, and Scrum Master. Although Scrum Master have to make sure that the productivity of whole development team is always up to the mark. And if there is any obstacle on the way of development team which is responsible to reduce the productivity, then it's Scrum Master's responsibility to remove that obstacle and make the whole team more organized, self-dependent, and productive. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment box. Thanks.